Here's what we've got in store for you today. First, we'll go through some vocabulary words to get you warmed up. Then we'll take a look at the verb ser. We'll show you how to conjugate it and when you use it. Then we'll take a look at some cool practice sentences so that you can see ser in action. After that, we'll check out some more vocab, and then we'll get down and dirty with the verb estar, focusing on how to conjugate it and when you use it instead of ser. Finally, we'll look at a bunch of sentences that use estar.
Perro means dog.
Bonito means pretty.
Sillas are chairs. Antiguas are antiques.
Él es muy guapo. Doesn't guapo mean handsome?
Hija means daughter.
Desordenada is a slob.
Caballo means horse.
El profesor is a teacher, and el estudiante is a student. Granjero is farmer.
Horrible means horrible. The word is a cognate, so it's spelled the same way and means the same thing in both Spanish and English. Only the pronunciation differs.
A
panaderia is a bakery, and galletas are cookies.
So there's the vocabulary. Now, let's start with ser.
Here's a simplified explanation of the difference between ser and estar. Ser usually refers to a permanent condition, and estar usually refers to a variable or temporary condition. Keep that in mind as we go over the details.
We'll show you the various forms of ser that go along with each pronoun. By the way, when you go through all the forms of a verb, it's called conjugating the verb. We'll tell you more about conjugations in a minute.
One thing we should tell you about the verb ser. It's an irregular verb.
Ser is irregular, so you have to memorize its forms. You can't just predict its conjugation. There are a number of irregular verbs in Spanish, but for the most part, Spanish verbs are predictable and pretty easy to deal with. Let's start by conjugating the English verb to be, just so you'll remember what a conjugation looks like. Then we'll conjugate the Spanish verb ser.
The conjugation of the English verb to be goes like this. I am, you are, he or she is, we are, you are, they are.
Now let's do the same thing in Spanish with the verb ser. Yo soy, tú eres, él, ella, or usted es, nosotros or nosotras somos, ustedes, ellos, or ellas son.
Confused? It will clear up, just like the eye of a hurricane. Just kidding. We'll clear it all up for you. Now that you've seen the conjugation of the verb ser, we'll practice using it as we show you some circumstances which call for it.
We mentioned earlier that you use ser when you're talking about a permanent or relatively permanent situation. The place where you come from falls into that category. It's considered permanent.
For example, English-speaking Americans say,
I am from the United States.
In Spanish you'd say,
Yo soy de los Estados Unidos.
Let's take a close look at this sentence. Yo means I, soy means am, de means from, and los is the correct form of the article the to go along with Estados Unidos, which means United States.
Soy de Mexico.
Notice in this example we did not use a pronoun with soy because we didn't need it. Soy implies the pronoun I all by itself because there is no other pronoun that can go with soy. It has to be yo soy. That's why you don't necessarily have to say yo with soy.
She is from Bogotá, Colombia. Ella es de Bogotá, Colombia.
Now look at this sentence. Ella es de Bogotá, Colombia. Ella is the pronoun that means she. We needed the pronoun in this sentence because es, the third-person singular form of ser, can be used with ella, él, or usted. Unless it's obvious who you're talking about, you have to use a pronoun with third-person singular verb forms like es.
Let's look at the conjugation of ser one more time.
Yo soy, tú eres, él, ella, or usted es, nosotros or nosotras somos, ustedes, ellos, or ellas son.
We are from Argentina. Somos de Argentina.
Somos de Argentina. In this example, we didn't use a pronoun because somos is only used with nosotros or we, so nosotros is implied automatically.
So here's a quick rundown of which verb forms you can use without a pronoun.
We'll use ser as an example, but these rules hold true for any verb.
The first person singular form of the verb, which, in the case of ser, is soy, can stand by itself without the pronoun yo. The second person singular informal form of the verb can also stand by itself without the pronoun tú. The second person singular form of ser is eres. Eres always implies the pronoun tú.
Now don't confuse the pronoun tú and its verb forms with the other second person singular pronoun, usted. Remember, usted is a formal way to say you. Usted takes the same verb form as the third person singular pronouns, él and ella.
Here's a table that will remind you of the pronouns and what they mean.
Yo means I. Tú is the informal word for you. Usted is the formal word for you. Él means he. Ella means she. Nosotros and nosotras mean we. The os form is masculine, and the as form is feminine. Ustedes is the plural form of you. Ellos is the masculine form of they, and ellas is the feminine form of they.
Ser is also used for names and professions. Keep in mind, though, when you give someone's occupation, you don't need to use an article.
Somos ma and pa. Somos graneros. I don't have my teeth.
You also use ser to describe the permanent characteristics of a person, place, or thing. For example, beauty is considered a permanent characteristic.
El perro es bonito means the dog is beautiful. Let's take a close look at the structure of this sentence.
El perro es bonito. The article el means the, and it matches the singular masculine subject, perro, which means dog. Next comes es, which is the third person singular form of the verb ser. Es matches the third person singular noun, perro. After the verb comes our adjective bonito, which means beautiful. Notice the O at the end of bonito, which indicates the adjective is masculine. Why is it masculine? Because it also has to match perro, which is masculine.
If we were talking about a girl dog, the sentence would go like this. La perra es bonita. In this case, the article la is feminine, because it goes along with perra, which means female dog. Notice that it's the A on the end of perra that indicates that the dog is female.
The verb is the same as in the boy-dog example, because is works for any third-person singular subject, masculine or feminine.
The adjective bonita gets an A on the end because it's modifying a feminine subject, perra.
All the parts match. In this case, they are all singular and or feminine.
Las sillas son antiguas.
Those chairs aren't going to get any younger. They will be antiques till they rot. So, this is a case which calls for the verb ser.
Here's our sentence. Las sillas son antiguas. Las is feminine and plural. The subject sillas or chairs is feminine and plural. Son is the third person plural form of ser, and antiguas, which means antiques, is feminine and plural.
Putting together a Spanish sentence is like putting together a puzzle. All the pieces have to match up, or it doesn't work.